one more.
I'm impressed that they, what is it?
Yeah.
Recognize me from Zoom.
Yeah.
Ah,
Small camera.
If you'd like
Are
to
you-
start, and then we can do the EO report and then go back.
So I'm like, I just like got to Zoom
All right,
home
good afternoon, everyone.
already.
I now call this meeting of the Implementation Board to order at 3:05 p.m. Angel, please call the roll.
Marks,
Here.
Carmen, Ho, Campos,
Present
Ballard,
here.
Keon,
Here.
Bell,
Here.
Ramirez,
Here.
Anderson, Liebers, Young, Abikoga, and Vega. Okay. We are short on quorum.
Okay. So what would you like us to do? Do you want the
The executive
executive?
officer report? We'll
All
move
right.
to item 3.
All right. Okay. Edmund?
Yes, I have a presentation here. It's real short. On the finances. Or could you,
Oh,
Find it.
actually, since do we want to do the report from the Public Advisory Committee?
Yes.
He's here.
Yes.
Sorry about that. Yes, you're here,
Yes.
please. Sorry.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Reed Lerner. I'm the chair of the Public Advisory Committee. Public Advisory Committee met last Thursday, May 7th, here in the Morgan Hill Council Chamber. We had a short agenda. We had one item that is also on your agenda for tonight. We had a presentation on the Santa Clara Valley Habitat Plan fiscal year 2025 annual report. And our committee reviewed and discussed the report, and then we voted to accept and adopt the report, or recommend that you accept and adopt the report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Angel, do we have a quorum now? All right, so we'll go in order here. I will now open public comment for items not on the agenda. Are there any members of the public with us or online that wish to speak on items not on the agenda?
I have no speakers.
All right, I will go ahead and close public comment. We will move on to the consent calendar. There is one item on the consent calendar. Okay. Lakeside Ranch Caretaker Residence Improvements. Authorize the executive officer to execute an agreement with Lewis Construction in an amount not to exceed $150,000 for interior improvements to the Lakeside Ranch Caretaker's Residence. Do we have any board members wishing to pull this item? Do we have any members of the public wishing to pull this item?
I have no people, no speakers.
Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Or no, do we do an individual? Roll call, okay.
Marks,
Yes.
Campos,
Yes.
Ballard,
Yes.
Keon,
Yes.
Bell,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Yes.
and Anderson.
Yes. Okay, consent calendar passes. We'll move on to item number 2. Santa Clara Valley Habitat Plan Fiscal Year 2025 Annual Report.
down here in the bottom?
Sure.
Thank you. Share. Maximize that. Okay. So if I can. Sorry, I'm just trying to make it look a little. There we go.
Thank you very much. Thank you, members of the Implementation Board. I'm here to present the Habitat Agency's annual report for fiscal year 2025, which ended in June of last year. Before starting, I wanted to take just a couple of minutes to provide some background to this year's report. In the first few years, the Habitat Agency, 2013, 14, 15, we were still being formed and we were pretty sparsely staffed. Much of the time was spent developing administrative policies and procedures, setting up accounts, payroll. But things started to pick up in 2016 and land enrollment increased to about 2 acquisitions per year on average, 1 or 2 per year on average. We were developing relationships with ranchers, open space agencies, and with our co-committees. We were also starting to do more research, monitoring, and even restoration in this time. Although we relied heavily on consultants back then, it's amazing how much the agency was able to achieve with a pretty small staff of about 5 full-time equivalent employees. We had a good core staff, to be sure, but some of this is a testament to all the thought and the effort that went into the creation of the Habitat Plan. The plan provides a manual for us. We can use it to focus on, meeting our goals and objectives. You might imagine it would be difficult to scale up the level of production and efficiency we saw in those early first 6 years with the next 6 years, but that's what happened. We've doubled our staffing to about 10 full-time equivalents now. We focused on land management staff, individuals with training or background in natural resources, including biologists and ecologists. We also picked up a part-time financial director and conservation planner. And we were very selective in our recruitment, but we were also fortunate in that our newest staff, just like the old guard, are vested in the mission of the Habitat Agency. They are, to a person, incredibly hardworking and dedicated to their tasks. And if you have a good playbook, an inspiring cause, and talented, hardworking team, then you have all the components needed for success. I'll also point out that what I'm about to share doesn't capture the full scope of our work. There were many administrative supporting efforts, side projects, works in progress that were not final in the reporting year or were not disclosed in the annual report. Still, the report provides the best opportunity, I must be allergies, to share our success in regards to the metrics that we're supposed to be tracking for compliance with our programmatic permits. So let's get into it. In the reporting year, we provided coverage for 28 projects, mostly private development, as you can see here, but also we had 2 agencies that sought voluntary plan coverage as participating special entities. To date, we have provided coverage for 473 projects, and you can see that the trend has consistently been for mostly private development. Those 473 projects have resulted in over 2,400 acres of permanent impacts. These are impacts that last longer than 1 year and usually consist of development of buildings, new buildings, roads, or other infrastructure. Here's an example of a private development project which initiated construction in the reporting year. This is the Microsoft data center at San Jose, the regional wastewater facility bufferlands. The project included 64 acres of on-site development and 25 acres of off-site improvements. You can see those off-site improvements on the left side of the image on the right. All told, 89 acres of development. The project paid over $2.5 million in land cover fees to the Habitat Agency. This is a public project conducted in the reporting year. This is Valley Water's Pacheco Pipeline Conduit Maintenance Project. This image that you see here is one of about 12 segments of this long linear project, and it consisted of routine vegetation management along the pipeline access road, as well as repair and maintenance of the road itself. We had 1 new land acquisition in the reporting year. We refer to this as Richmond Ranch Phase 2. It's the central portion in green. In 2023, the Conservation Fund purchased the entire 3,600-acre ranch to hold it until the Habitat Agency and county parks could align the funding necessary to acquire it. In fiscal year 2024, we were able to do just that, and we and the county secured funding to acquire the 2 phases that are shown in orange and in blue. Within the reporting year, the Habitat Agency put together a grant funding package that was described by our executive officer, Edmund, in a report to your board back in November 2024, and we took ownership of the final 1,218 acres identified as Phase 2 in this image. Oops, there we go. We took our spring field trip here and we walked a few miles of the access roads to see rolling hills, serpentine grasslands, and distant creeks in the valleys. At least 8 of our 18 species are found on this property, so it provides important habitat for them. But it also provides critical movement linkages and expands the reserve system further to the north and east of our Coyote Ridge properties. You can see it shown on this map as reserve unit number 15. The Richmond Ranch acquisition brings our total reserve system size up to 16,150 acres. According to the habitat plan assumptions, we should be protecting about 940 acres each year to keep up with our conservation commitment. And that means by now we should have about 11,200 acres protected. So with over 16,000 acres protected, we are 35% ahead of our conservation target, which is great news for us and the habitat that we're protecting. Being ahead in raw acres of conservation land makes it easier to meet our individual land cover community targets for natural communities that we protect. We can't simply protect 46,000 acres of grassland and call that sufficient conservation. Because we're mitigating for impacts to a range of habitat types, our reserve system is required to compose a minimum number of acres of each habitat type. And you can see on this chart that we're significantly ahead in all of them. We completed one restoration project in the reporting year. This consisted of excavation and repair of 5 stock ponds. This was intended to increase the hydro period of the ponds to improve breeding conditions for one or more of our herp species. But when we increase the presence of aquatic resources anywhere on our reserves, we improve the overall conditions for hundreds of species beyond those that we cover. Birds, bees, butterflies, badgers, and those are just the species that start with the letter B. We continued monitoring 9 previous restoration projects and advanced planning for a future phase of restoration at the Open Space Authority's Bahara River Agricultural Preserve. Cumulatively, we're making strides in aquatic resource restoration. We have some fairly lofty minimum requirements, so we will need to keep up this pace for quite some time. I wasn't planning to discuss the plan amendment today, although I will be happy to if requested. But this is a good time to remind you that through the plan amendment, we have a proposal to reduce our requested take limits to ponds, freshwater marsh, and willow riparian habitat. This is because we are seeing so few impacts to those resources that we will never come close to the limits assumed in the plan. By reducing those take limits, we also reduce our minimum restoration commitment and end up saving the agency approximately $650,000 each year thereafter. As described in the annual report, our land management staff and partners have been very busy. At the top left is a seep repair on Coyote Ridge. This is damage caused by invasive feral pigs. So we set up a pig trap, which you can see in the background on that image. Once the pigs were dispatched, we fenced this seep to protect it, and it's fully recovered today. The middle left image is the Habitat Agency's own Ben Teton and Matt Fogarty. Matt is in the foreground. They're conducting nighttime surveys for a California red-legged frog. The lower left image is a member of the California Academy of Sciences who partnered with us through a local assistance grant to study paintbrush genomics. She's sitting there sampling paintbrush flowers, and that seems like a nice job to have. And the top middle image are some California condors who traveled up to our O'Connell Ranch to nibble on something that died there. We don't cover condors, but we're very excited to see our reserve property playing host to other special status species. And I'll just say this for the record, all native species are welcome on our reserves. There's no invitation needed. The lower middle image is a controlled burn at Calero County Park to manage invasive weeds and to reduce the threat of uncontrolled wildfire. The top right image shows an example of grazing infrastructure. And what you see is a backhoe trenching a pipeline to bring water up a hill where an open space authority partner is installing a cattle trough in that middle right image. We use water in strategic locations to ensure that cattle stay in a given area for a longer period of time. This facilitates summer grazing where we need it on hilltops and serpentine grasslands. The lower right picture is the agency's own Sam Fall. She's on the left side of that image in a green shirt. She's leading a crew who are removing some dastardly invasive weeds. In the reporting year, we treated about 400 acres of invasive vegetation to keep it from spreading further into the reserves. Funding jumped up a bit in the reporting year, helped out by the aforementioned Microsoft Data Center, but it still would have been a decent year even without that project. We're starting to see a trend emerging with large projects slowly making their way through permitting every few years, and smaller projects being implemented more quickly and consistently in between. We're still well below the anticipated funding by this time, and that appears to be a function of fewer annual acres of impact than were assumed in the habitat plan. Where the plan anticipated we'd be seeing about $7.3 million in fees each year, we're closer to $5.4 million. And that brings us to a snapshot of the Habitat Agency compliance metrics. We are now 24% of the way through our 50-year permit term, but we have only seen 13% of the land cover impacts from development. The 13% of impacts have brought in approximately 16% of anticipated funding. Again, still well below the 24% target. Yet within this time, we have achieved 35% of our conservation target, which is certainly making the most of the situation. I guess we're making lemonade, right? The secret sauce has been non-fee funding. We have been aggressively pursuing grants, and we have netted 39% of the anticipated grant funding by this time. This is what has allowed us to get so far ahead in conservation. So in summary, it has been another great year for the Habitat Agency, given our dual purpose of streamlined permitting for development and maximizing local conservation efforts. We are achieving success on both fronts. Keep on the lookout for our new website, which is going to launch probably the second week of June. You can look for it. Very exciting. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, are there any questions from the board or our speaker?
Lonnie from BTA. I apologize for being late, everyone. Jerry, I just want to say I appreciate your humor so much all the time. That's all.
My wife does too.
But thank you
Sure.
for making us laugh sometimes.
Anybody else? All
This is
right.
Shiloh. Oh, this is Shiloh.
Sure.
I just wanted to say that I love the report. It's written in a way that's really nice to read, and it answers all a reader's questions as you're reading it. It not only covers 1 year, but it covers cumulative stuff, and it's just super fascinating. And I wish we could get the word out to the general public about all the good work that this agency does. Although I'm not sure everybody would be super interested.
Well, we love to see people who are interested. Just talking to Reed about that ahead of the meeting, that we don't have a lot of members of the public showing up at these, and there's a lot of great stuff that's happening in the county here. So you can get the word out. We're happy to bring more people in here if we can get them in. Maybe more cookies. I don't know. I don't know what we need already.
All right, any other comments from the board? Then I will open public comment. Any public comment?
I have no speakers.
Right, I will close public comment. We are being asked to approve the Santa Clara Valley Habitat Plan fiscal year 2024-2025 annual report. Do I have a motion?
So moved. It's Shiloh.
Second? Okay, Shiloh moves. Any second?
Second.
All right, thank you. Roll call, please.
Marks,
Yes.
Ho,
Yes.
Campos,
Yes.
Ballard,
Yes.
Keon,
Yes.
Bell,
Yep.
Ramirez,
Yes.
and Anderson.
Yes.
All right,
Oh, here.
motion passes.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Jerry.
Thank you all. I'm gonna get you set up.
All right. Now, we will have a report from the executive officer. Edmund?
Yes, thank you, members of the implementation board. I don't know if I can top the comedy act there, so I won't try. Jerry, you're a hard act to follow.
That's good to hear.
Yes. So I'm just going to do a little overview of where we are from a fiscal standpoint. So we have investment accounts, as you know, we have an endowment, we have a liquidity account. And then We also have money in the local agency investment fund that's done through the Department of Treasury at the state. So we have, as of August, the end of August, we have 8.6 million in the LAIF fund, as it's called. The endowment has grown quite a bit as the stock market continues to be in an abstract world. So the endowment benefits from that, and it's just under 10.8 million. Liquidity account, that's money that we can earn better return on than we can in LAIF or with our operating account balance, which is with JP Morgan Chase. And I don't even know if it's earning 1/10 of an interest. But the liquidity account is relatively riskless, and that's just under 3.4 million for a total in our investment counts of nearly 23 million at 22.7 million. I mentioned the operating account balance, and that is just as of August 30th is just under 1.7, so it's 1.66 million. Let's see. So revenues so far this year, we projected our revenues would be around 4.2 million by the end of the year. We're on track for that, or potentially to exceed that. As of the 30th, we were just under 3.8 million. Foundation and direct public grants, around 1.5 million. Those spike when we buy land. That we've been fortunate to have a lot of great partners, both locally and state, and in the past, the federal government have been great partners in purchasing land. The county, Valley Water, Post, as well as the Moore Foundation have been great local partners. So why that number is a little bit lower than what you've seen in past years. The investment account or the investment income is just under $1 million. The interest income is at 643,000. Lease revenue, which is primarily grazing and the sporting clays, shooting club and San Bruno Canyon are where we're getting that money from, is at 113,000, and other miscellaneous revenues are around 250,000 for a total revenue to date of 7,344,000. This is the actual budget expenditures where we're at 6.4 million. We were projecting to spend around 10.2 million. Budget remaining is just under 3.9 million. So we're on pace to spend less than what we budgeted for, but we'll probably be spending somewhere in the 8 to 8.5 million by the close of the fiscal year. And that is it. So then I'll just go back over here.
All right, thank you, Edmund. Are there any questions?
Oh, sorry, not.
Oh, you're not through.
Yes.
Okay,
no,
go
I'm
ahead.
just changing locations.
Okay.
Easier sitting down here. So went on a couple advocacy trips. One was to Sacramento in May. So I joined members of the California HCP Coalition. I met with Assemblymember Halloran and with the larger group with staff of Senators Cortese and Becker, Assemblymember Cholera, and Speaker Rivas, among others. We also met with Megan Hurdle, as the new director of California Fish and Wildlife. We advocated for a quicker rollout of Wildlife Conservation Board Prop 4 funds, try to get an exemption, the APA exemption, for they don't have to go through all the hoops that entails. Promoting the benefits of NCCPs to our legislators and their staff. and the importance of the program to the state's 30 by 30 biodiversity goals, among other things. And we also talked about legislation we were supporting, as well as our opposition as a group to one of Wiener's CEQA exemptions that were excluding NCCP and HCP lands from. So we said, you can't be exempting our transmission line projects from CEQA if they're going through wildlife refuges or protected lands that are identified in an HCP or NCCP. That legislation is currently, it hasn't gotten through committee, so maybe our opposition to it as written, as well as others, has delayed it. And we're trying to get more of the cap and trade funds kind of earmarked for working lands and natural lands. The cap and trade right now is revenues are way below projection, so there may not be money for working lands and natural lands anyways, but we definitely want it on the radar of our delegation of its importance. Went to Washington in March, just after the March board meeting. The focus of this trip was advocating for increased funding for Section 6 grant program, which helps us with land acquisitions and some research. It seems to have bipartisan support, but the administration, as a lot of you know, that the appropriation of money by Congress doesn't always get spent and gets bogged down in whatever seems to be going on with this, with various grant programs. From what we learned, Department of Interior is one of those agencies that's under a lot more closer scrutiny with the current administration. So any grant, $50,000 or more in allocation, is going under through an extensive review. So there were a lot of Section 6 grants that were informally awarded in September, October timeframe. They still haven't been awarded. The new grant, NOFO, Notice of Funding announcement, still has not been forthcoming. I'm not super optimistic right now on the future of that program. We did have very good, productive meetings with the new head of U.S. Fish and Wildlife, as well as one of the top people at the Department of Interior, about HCPs and how, half of what we do is facilitating, streamlining, permitting. That's certainly, it seems both sides of the aisle are very supportive of that. The conservation stuff we do is a little more complicated. There was a lot of misunderstanding that we were facilitating federal ownership of land, and we cleared that up. And there was a lot of discussion of how HCPs in states like Montana and Wyoming and sort of the Rocky Mountain states, how there could be programmatic approaches to issues in those states. And so they've talked to us about meeting with them to try to make Section 10 of ESA work better. And I'm not sure what exactly their idea is of working better, but we're open to meeting with them and discussing it and seeing where it goes. I met with our local delegation. And I was supposed to meet with Loughran, but she got called away for a vote. I did have a brief meeting with Congressman Panetta, and we met with the staff of the two senators, as well as some of the Southern California congressional delegation with some of the national HCP folks. And that is it on the advocacy front. On land acquisitions, we're close to doing I told you a little bit about the transfer of ownership of this Silver Creek and Kirby Slope preserves from Taylor Morrison. And they would also be providing over 5.2 million in funding, because 560 acres or so of that land is been set aside as mitigation for the Taylor Morrison development. And we would take over the responsibility of managing it, but it would come with an endowment. And then there's also 167 acres, which is unencumbered, which means we could enroll it in our reserve system. And all of this is at no cost to the agency. You've read in the paper about Post's acquisition of Mead Ranch, which is significant. It's the final large piece of what used to be the Bechtel Holdings and off of McKean and Ubis Roads. We will be acquiring roughly 1,000 acres of that from Post. We're in the process of submitting grants and fundraising for that. And I would like to thank Valley Water for the assignment of the Belomini option, which is around 1,400 acres. So it gives us 3 years to raise the money to acquire that property, which is in the Pacheco Pass area. It was going to be mitigation, I believe, for the Pacheco Dam project. So we thank Valley Water for that opportunity to potentially buy this property. We have a couple other acquisitions in the queue. They're still too early in the process to discuss. I hope to be discussing those with you at a later board meeting. Some on other conservation actions, the wildlife directional fence on Pacheco Pass, which will direct animals to the 2 undercrossings on our Pacheco Preserve, as well as the 2 culverts. That was completed, so that's good news. We're now talking with the Saratoga, the Larry Eltson Center, Wildlife Center that was just built in Saratoga. They're going to be doing captive breeding of bay checker spot butterflies for us, and we'll be reintroducing them to sites on Coyote Ridge, working with the wildlife agencies, Creekside Science, and others to do that. Burrowing owl, we're hopeful that the success we've had over the last couple of years with the captive breeding and rearing will continue. OSA and Post agreed to allow us to reintroduce owls to a site they call the Kuzia site, which is in that same Mid-Coyote Valley area. Mountain lion tracking, we captured a male lion recently, and unfortunately that male lion was killed by another male lion. So good news, bad news there. Pond restoration update, Jerry alluded to it, but that work that he talked about will be continuing this year with more pond dredging and restoration projects. So far, the work has, for minimal investment, has resulted in red-legged frogs reoccupying several of the ponds we've done this work on, as well as in California tiger salamander and a couple others. That's all. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Evan. Any questions, Kelly?
So just a quick question, just curiosity, because I've worked on grants before. $50,000 seems like such a low threshold. What has it typically been? I mean, I just can't imagine at the federal level, $50,000.
I think it's intentional to kind of muck
Obviously,
up. Yes.
it is.
Yes. I wasn't aware of, so usually it's got to be somewhat of a trust issue, you know, trusting the staff that works under you. So they've set up this process to review. In the past, we got a $10 million grant and it wasn't slowed up at all. I don't know if there's a level, but I know up to 10, we didn't go through a process of review.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? I will open public comment. Any public comment?
I have no speakers.
All right, I will now close public comment. And no action is needed on this item. We're just here to receive the verbal report. At this time, do any of the board members have any future initiated agenda items? Okay, hearing none. We're going to be adjourning to a closed session. I will open public comment and ask if there are any members of the public that wish to comment.
I have no speakers.
Okay, I will go ahead and close public comment. We are now going to adjourn to closed session.
The implementation board met in closed session to do an employee evaluation of the executive officer pursuant to Government Code Section 54957 subsection B. No action was taken, direction was given. They have adjourned.